Welcome back to the channel, guys. I wanted to switch gears a little bit and just do a little bit of Mustang content. So in this video, you're going to see me do the rear brake pads or take the rear brake pads out and do a little bit of sanding. I'll put the top of sandpaper that I used below. I actually had glazed the brake pads, which they're G-Loc GS1 street pads at the last autocross that I'd done. I didn't use the race pads. I didn't use the R6 pads, which, you know, I didn't use those. I want to switch over to those because it is just an autocross. I didn't assume there would be a lot of braking, which there really wasn't. But I think the rear pads got a little bit warm, as I kind of discussed in this video or throughout this video. But I do think that sanding the pads helps. It does not completely take care of it or fix the issue. They still squeak, but they've always, even with the GS1s, they've always squeaked just a little bit. I will say the G-Loc pads, they do stop well. They stop really, really well, but they're just loud, even the street ones. And I don't know if that's just necessarily a Mustang braking system thing or if it's just the G-Loc series pads. And if y'all want to comment below what type of pads that you all use for both street series and track series. I know there's not going to be a perfect pad that you can switch between both. A lot of people will use different rotors and then just use a street pad on one rotor and a track pad on another rotor. That is a lot of work, but I am willing to do that. And I do plan on actually trying to switch out the front calipers for some performance pack calipers next season. I'm hoping that these pads will last me at least until next season. That's my plan, because these do have quite a bit of life left on them. And directly after this video, I did do the front pads. I took them out, sanded them, because they were still squeaking quite bad. And it wasn't just necessarily squeaking, they were actually screeching. Again, that's a sign of glazing. I will say they were quite shiny. This will probably be just a temporary solution because I have noticed them screech a couple times since when they get really warm. I did take it to the back of the Dragon directly after this video. I'll have some video clips at some point on the channel of that trip. I've been to the back of the Dragon before in my WRX. If you want to look back, or I might actually link above somewhere up in here to that video. Amazing road. In the Mustang, it was great because I actually had a change on the front. I actually made the front sway bar just a little bit looser. So, but anyways, if y'all want to watch this video and find this helpful in terms of actually taking the rear pads out or the calipers off, I have done a complete video of how to do the front brake pads and rotors. And I'm sure you all might have seen that video or a how-to of how to change those items. But I hadn't done anything on the rear brake pads for the Mustang. But anyways, if y'all want to watch this, and I hope you all find it helpful, and I do have some interesting and hopefully fun things coming up in terms of some giveaways from a sponsor that I've actually had on the channel in the past for the Colorado. The giveaway actually will be something that a lot of people can use for maybe their off-roading type vehicles. I do have some car shows coming up that I'll be attending, Slammed Enough, and also a local car show. And there'll be some more Colorado content coming up in terms of installs. So enjoy this video. Thanks. So I've actually done a video on the front brakes of the Mustang, or how to replace the front brakes and rotors in the Mustang. I'm not gonna do any replacement of the rear rotors. I'm gonna do the rear brake pads, but I'm not replacing them. I'm actually just taking them out. I'm running the G-Loc GS1 pads, and I actually ran them at the last autocross, and I believe I actually overheated them, which it's pretty easy to do with the rear brake pads on the Mustang because the way the actual stability control works. I ran it mainly in not really track mode. I think I ran it in sport mode, which uses the stability control quite a bit, and it uses the rear brakes. So I believe I got them a little bit just too hot. So in doing that, I think that I actually need to just take them and sand them a bit. So I'm gonna take them, sand them on some 80 grit sandpaper, put them back on. They're just a little bit loud. They don't have as much braking power as I'd like. I don't think it's necessarily the front brake pads. It feels like, or it sounds like it's coming more from the rear. So we're gonna jack the car up, take the rear wheels off, take the rear pads out, and I'll walk you through that. So before you begin working on the rear brakes, make sure you let your emergency brake down. The caliper will not come off without that being done. So I'll also stop the front tires, just put you a stop there, just for safety's sake. So whenever you jack the car up without the emergency brake on, that you won't have it roll away. So let's go ahead and jack the car up. This is really not the ideal way. I should just replace the pads, but they have so much life on them, I hate not to fix them or try to fix them. Okay, let me go get a 10 millimeter right quick, and I think a 14 millimeter, I'll be right back. So as mentioned, I have these brake covers I have to take off, and these aren't necessarily that bad. Just a 10 millimeter. I'm not necessarily sold on these. I'll leave them on there. It makes it look a little bit better. I guess it's a little bit ricer, if you want to call it that. But, and honestly, it's probably not the best for heat dissipation. I don't use it leave them on there while I'm at the track. Now I did at this last autocross. Probably not the best idea. Probably kept the heat in quite a bit. That was my own fault. But it is what it is. Okay. So now let's go ahead and get the, let's see, get you focused here. See if I can get you. Now, what you're going to want to do is there's these right here. Here, you can see up here and up here. You're going to want to take those off. Let me go get a hanger so I can hang these up right quick. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Verify it is a 14 millimeter. So we'll loosen the bottom bolt first. These shouldn't be super tight. I think it's like 35 foot-pounds, maybe a little bit less. I'll double check. You know, but these seem tighter than they probably should be. There's that one. Okay, let's get the top one. I hope you can see. Just keep in mind, you know, might take a shorter wrench. Okay. All right, so I got both of those loose. I hope, like I said, I hope you can see this. If not, let me scoot the camera back up. Okay. So we got them both loose. Take the bolts out, and these should just come right off since we made sure to let the emergency brake off. Should, yeah, okay. And they did. Let me get my hanger that I brought over here. And the best way I found to do this is just hang them up on the strut right there. So bring it around. So I just put a hanger through here and hang it up on the top here on the strut mount and get it out of the way. So these are the GS1s. We'll take them out right quick. I don't know if you can see. They're a little bit shinier than what I'd like. So like I said, I'm gonna ground them down with some 80 grit sandpaper right quick. I don't know if I'll put much more lube on there or not. I mean, they seem like they're okay in that regard. I might. I don't think they really need it, to be honest. They may need a little bit more. I can add some to it there, and we'll see, since they are squealing some on both the back and the front. Give me just a second, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna get a paper towel so I can lay these down on them. Okay, we'll just take out the back one here. I got the front one already out. Simple as just sliding it out here. Okay, that one's, well, let me see if I can, it's not really focusing for me. That one's kind of shiny too. So we will use some sandpaper. I'm gonna take it over here to the garage right quick. It's a level surface. And then take the sandpaper. There's really no rhyme or reason, just as long as you make it look a little bit less shiny, and you don't want to take a lot of material off, but just enough to where you have almost kind of like a new pad surface for the rotor to kind of adhere to. You can actually clean the rotor's surface area off a little bit with some brake cleaner. It's somewhat helpful, but then of course you don't necessarily get the backside very well a lot of times, because it's got this cover on the back. So I mean, doing the front helps some. I mean, you know, because you've already had some, of course, the pad material. I might do that, I may not. Like I said, I'm just trying to do something kind of quick to get that old pad, or that just get the shine off of these. Okay, so this is a rather flat surface. I'm gonna try to sit this down just so you can see it, but I can still work. You just want to run it across the, oh goodness, there is some rocks on these. I'm gonna take those out. No point in those being in there. In the back of the pad. Okay. All right. So we will run it across this flat surface. Well, as you can see, it is coming off somewhat. All right, so after you grind those down as much as you can to get the glaze off, again, try to use as flat a surface as you can. Now, again, if you were replacing the brake pads, you would use a tool that looks like this. And again, you can get one of these. Let me put it right here. Looks like this. Well, hold on one second, guys. It looks like this. And it is just a rear caliper brake tool. And they can be had on Amazon. I think the kit was $20, $30. Not all cars require this for the rear caliper. Some do, some don't. The Mustangs or S550 Mustangs do. But then you just put it on the caliper and twist down, and it twists the caliper back into the actual piston or caliper itself, pushes the piston back in. Make sure that you actually take the your master cylinder cap off as you push the fluid back into the master cylinder. You don't want to not do that because it helps relieve the pressure through the system. Make sure you do that. I am going to put a little bit of grease on the ears of these brake pads, not much. I should clean these up, but I'm not going to clean them up. This is just something very quick. Again, we're going to eventually redo these brakes. This is not the forever brakes. These brakes are about done with, I think, just because they've been glazed already. We're just trying to make them a little bit quieter for just a little bit longer, because they do still have quite a bit of pad life left on them, and they're good brakes, you know, theoretically. But I'll be honest with you, the G-Loc pads, the track pads, they were good, but the GS1s, they're still loud. They still squeak, no matter how much you put grease on them or whatnot. They're still gonna be loud. They're not really, they're streetable, but I think there's better ones out there. Anyways, there's that. And what I use for my grease, now you could use anything you want. I mean, I use this ceramic fortified brake system grease. That's what I use on the ears of the brake pads. It seems to work okay. There might be, of course, there might be better out there. You just use what you like, and that's absolutely fine. Just personal preference. This seems to keep it keeps it quieter than what some of the other stuff I have used before. For some reason, it just seems like Mustang brakes are just, I don't know if they're just naturally loud if you don't use the right, like ceramic pads or something, but gosh, The front pads especially, they seem to be hard to get quiet. Now track pads are just going to be, they're going to be what they are, they're going to be loud. But even these street pads are loud. I don't think they should be as loud as they are. Okay. Let me get back here and I'm going to look at this and see if I'm getting it lined up right. And then we'll button everything up. You don't want, if you, at all costs, you don't want to get any grease on your rotor at all. You want to avoid that for sure. So that is done. So what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna put the caliper back on and I'll put my bolts back in with the 14 millimeter and I'll torque them. I think that, well, 32 foot-pounds we'll say, and we'll do that in inch-pounds to have an inch-pound torque wrench for that amount of torque. So 1 second, guys.